Time now for the news review on the AM show, and I have my in-house guest. Can you guess? Sweetie Abaji is right here. I'm going to grill her like tilapia in just a bit, and then shortly we'll be joined by our formal guest, Dr. Kwame Asante. He is a political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But, Sweetie?
Yes, Benjamin.
It's been an eventful week. I just recalled Dr. Rashid Draman saying that the appointments committee's vetting has become a sort of theater. And then I was just thinking about some of the scenes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, exeunt, you know, in literature, when it's time to walk off curtains and all that. But I don't know what your most relevant or biting story has been this week. Oh, and of course, there's also the story of the little girl who, it touched me because I had a personal something in there, and I interacted with Jivenu on this issue. Ibrahim Mahama was kind enough, because you remember there had been another girl who I don't know whether it was kidney related, end stage, had given out some $25,000, and this one came up and over $100,000 went to South Africa, unfortunately, when her colleagues were speaking. 10-year-old, when it just got me, emotional. They were almost choking with tears.
Yeah. Ben, most people had hope that a philanthropist, a good Samaritan, had stepped in to take care of the bills, to help this girl, live her dream life. But unfortunately, looks like God had his own plans. But if you ask me, my most, significant, or the highlights of this week for me, really, it would be the president's visits to Bawku and his attempts to bring an end to that decade-long conflict. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to do it. I understand he's going to appoint some security ministers and all that, but I really hope that, this is the first step to actually bringing this conflict to an end, because to say Ghana is the beacon of democracy, we are, largely a very peaceful country, and then there's some parts in this country where people can pick up arms and kill each other. And I understand the death toll has risen to, I think, 41 or so, It's not a good look for us. So I'm really excited that the president has prioritized this, and I hope that his efforts come to fruition. Yeah, that would be it for me.
All right, yeah. So we have Dr. Kwame Asante now. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Sweetie. And good morning to our viewers.
It's good to see
you. Happy
to
see you all.
Yeah.
With a lot of energy. Yes.
Well, hopefully we'll get to match you. You also come with a lot of energy all the time. A few interesting issues, but I'll leave you to share your thoughts quickly with us first, and then we'll get into the papers. Over to you, Doc.
Yeah, Ben, today I want to take the opportunity and respond to something that my attention has been drawn to, circulating in the social media, that I have said that the E-Levy be maintained. Right. I want to set the record straight here. It is all propaganda with all its negative intentions and all that. And there's a malicious story going around. But if people care to know, my position has always been that as a political scientist, under state capacity, the state has a duty to generate revenue from within to run its affairs. So if government want to use taxation to arrive at this, I am all for it. But the problem that I have is that the magnitude of the taxation, in other words, the incidence, how high is the tax and all that, that my argument has always been that if it is lowered, and then to the barest minimum that people can accommodate that, then we are good to go. But to cancel a tax, I have never been part and parcel relative to an E-Levy. And so I want to state it clearly here that all that people are reading from social media that I have said that, at a point in time I said the E-Levy should be scrapped, and today I'm saying that they should bring it back, is all lie, it's all propaganda, and there's no truth in that. And if people want to understand this more and have more evidence, just Google Asante /E-Levy 2022, 2023. The stories are there. You'll be inundated with a lot of information about E-Levy and my position on that. Ben, you recall, you and I had a number of interviews on that, and those videos are all there. If people want to know what I really said, just Google Asasante /E-Levy 2022-2023, and you'll be amazed with all the information there. So I want to use this platform to tell everybody that all those stories about me relative to E-Levy is nothing but mere propaganda, and it is intended to work against me, but it will not fly because my position remains resolute.
Right.
That I support the cause of the state at all times. It doesn't matter whoever is championing a certain political cause. I am all for the state. Nothing more, nothing less.
And if I may just, add to what you've said, what I saw, it quotes you as having said, for example, I'll not mention the sites that put this up. One says, they put it side by side. E-Levy, government has failed to listen to Ghanaians. Asa Asante. And then the other one says, E-Levy has the potential to provide us with significant resources. Don't scrap it. So they talk about when the MPP was in power, what you said, and when the NDC was in power. But I think if you look at it critically, it doesn't point to a shift. Here's why. If you look at the first one that says government has failed to listen to Ghanaians, you were not saying it was a bad thing. All you were saying was that in that instance, people were saying, don't do this, at least not for now. Yes. And we can go back to VAT. Yes.
And Ben, let me just add, that was a conversation I had with you.
Yeah.
And that I said that government has failed ab initio by not talking to stakeholders on the matter.
Yeah.
Now that you are talking about it, get back to stakeholders and then reduce it to the minimum. And Ben, let me add that if people want to even get certain stories straight away, 26 January 2022, Joy News story is there. 4th May 2022, Joy News story is there. And a lot. I remember I went to Kokroko and Kwame Sefakan asked me, government has reduced it to 1%. What is your position on that? And I said that I support the president like a witch. And if Ghanaians want to know more about it, just type Asasante, I support the president like a witch. And you see the story in Ghana Web.
Right.
So what are you talking?
All right. Well, these things happen. Take it. Yeah. Don't take it.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool. Criticisms are part and parcel of what governance processes. But I'm saying that proceed with integrity. All right. And then I am very careful about things I say. I'm sure people have noticed that the things I say, I am very, as a journalist, as a political scientist, my image is more important. So I'm very, very careful. And I don't belong to any party. You can do a search in all the parties. I'm not associated with any party. I'm associated with Ghana.
Thank you, Doc.
It's really sad sometimes when people take your words out of context. Eh?
Yeah.
Have you experienced that before, Ben?
Oh, what do you mean like before? All the time. It happens. All the time.
Right. Let's get into the newspapers now. I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, of course, the Vice President is here. And she says we'll provide sustainable growth opportunities for all. That's the first story I want to start with. But the headlines, President nominates 10 regional ministers. Yes, another major one. Regional district tribunals will not usurp powers of courts. Dominic Ayine, I'm trying to clarify over there. VRA grid code not for privatization. And Energy Minister designate says. The last I heard of Nana Jane, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, I think it was when the Israeli diplomatic group paid her visits, and Ghanaians were just angry that she's being warm with Israel. It's Israel after all. What they're doing, the massacre, all that we are hearing and reading in the stories. So I'm glad to see that there's something else positive. So let's get into the story. The Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opukwa-Agyeman, has reiterated the government's commitment to providing opportunities for citizens to enjoy sustainable growth at all levels, both economic and beyond. She said the government remained focused on creating an enabling environment that ensures prosperity, reduces poverty, and fosters economic independence for all Ghanaians. And this was at the opening of the 76th Annual New Year School and Conference in Accra. Doc, I just want to add the story about the 10 new ministers designates that have been announced, and then I'll come to you quickly for your reflections. Yesterday, we all saw the list that came out. The President, John Dramani Mahama, has nominated 10 persons for consideration as regional ministers in his government. And let me just quickly get you the list. So according to the statement signed in Accra yesterday by Felix Washifosu, the acting spokesperson for the president, the list are as follows. We have Ali Adolf John for Northern Region, John Kojo Japong for Oti Region, James Gunu for Volta Region, Mrs. Rita Kosia Ejay Awate for Eastern Region, and Ibrahim Tia for Northeast. The rest, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, Ashanti Region, Aka Mugri Donatus Atanga, Upper East Region, Charity Gardner Ahafo, and Salisu Bay Awurebe Savannah, and then of course Linda Oklu for Greater Accra Region. Doc, how did this list come to you? This new information, how did it come to you?
Interesting list. We want to listen to them when they have their day in Parliament for, the conversation about whether they are fit for purpose for that position. That is where we'll be able to look at what is it that they have under their sleeves that they want to share with us. Remember that these very things were developed in ancient Greece, where they decide to have this type of a body where they interrogate people to find out what is it that they have. And those times, the more interesting questions, one of the best questions that will come to you is that, can you tell us about your father's grave and all that? They were so important. In other words, they were putting emphasis on certain things that were so important to them. And as nationals or people who were going to be leaders, you should be alive to those issues. And the same way this time around, we are not talking about grave, but we will talk about what? If it's the Ministry of Finance, the economy, debts, inflation, and all those ingredients. If it's energy, we are talking about energy sector debt. We're talking about merging ECG with what? VRA and stuff like that. So we want to listen to them, but what we expect from them is that they should be able to give us answers that will give us hope, answers that will make us more better.
Right. Doc, I'm looking forward to your comments on Nana James. I don't know if this is the second time she's making the airwaves, but I thought it was good news. But let me add...
no, you know my story, my position about Nana James.
Yeah.
And I said it on your network.
Yeah.
That the first woman vice-chancellor, first woman vice president, who knows, one day a first woman president, who knows?
Yeah.
But I always want to support the cause of women because they have a lot of things that we have overlooked that when tapped will make society better. So any woman, it doesn't matter whether in public office or in private, right? We want to encourage them. And that is why I'm happy with my school, University of Ghana, where there's the affirmative action. If admission cutoff point is 14, women is 15, just to encourage women to bring them to that level. Look at Eugene. Since its establishment, 1948, we have male leadership throughout. And the good news is that today, go to Legon and you see a change and a better wind blowing, women taking their affairs and doing stuff at Legon. I want to see that at the national level. And for me, it doesn't matter which party present me with the people, that I can lay hands on women who are quality for the society. Look at members of parliament. In 276, how many are women? That should occupy our attention so that we can encourage and bring them in and then support. There is something good that we can get from women leadership, I can assure you.
Okay. Just some quick headlines, stories in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. President Mahama must tackle pressing human rights issues, according to Amnesty International. Just a brief of that. Amnesty International has called on President John Dramani Mahama and his government to ensure the promotion and protection of human rights, including gender equality and women's rights. And then there's another story here. 44 men arrested for raping Kerala Dalit girl for 5 years. 2 accused abroad. Very sad one. 2 other stories. VRA Gridco not for privatization. Energy Minister designates. And this is, I think, some of the fallouts from the Ministerial Vetting Committee. There was a story I wanted to bring to your attention, but somehow it has eluded me now. So maybe just these two stories. Yes, crack the whip at corrupt individuals in society. Leaders Edge. Right Reverend Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Bliss Divine Agbeku, moderator of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church, Ghana, has advised religious and political leaders not to hesitate to crack the whip against people engaged in corrupt practices. And the nation, he explained, would be doomed if people placed in authority resorted to various forms of corrupt practices and were left unpunished. There are so many other stories, but I'll end it here, Doc, for your quick review.
Yes, I would start with human rights. And it's so dear to my heart in the sense that these are the tenets, one of the tenets of democracy. Democracy without human rights is democracy in the cemetery. Nobody wants to know or hear about it. And so all the time, we must jealously guard against what this important canon of what democracy, so that it stands the test of time. If you avail yourself to the literature in the U.S. State Department report, you read that it is inundated with human rights violations from 1993 up to date. There are some of the things I must say that the state has done and done well by correcting them. Abductions and all that, it has reduced, and now I see virtually nothing in the report. But if you look at what brutalities meted out to people of this country, particularly suspects by the police, it is clear in there. And I've always had opportunity to inform the public and draw the attention of the IGP that even though I know they are doing their best, but they should work at that. And the report consistently have that. It is an ugly spectacle in that report. And I think that the state must move in to deal with this one head on. If you look at what issue of what the story about corruption, it is also a governance indicator. So anytime corruption is brought to light, I am interested, because if you want to strengthen your governance architecture, you need to work against corruption. And always, Ben has always reminded me that it's more than $3 billion that we lose, according to Ghana Integrity Initiative, through corruption. So if we are able to fix corruption, I'm sure there's no need going to IMF. And I'm sure there's no need overburdening ourselves with a lot of things. In fact, if we target corruption, that we want to work on it very well, and then financial waste within the system, if we're able to deal with it, I'm not an economist, but I'm sure we are going to rake in a lot of resources to run the affairs of our state without a cap in hand, globe-trotting, looking for resources. I am happy that the Reverend Minister has hit the nail right on the head. And it is my hope and prayer that the clergy, that other groups, Bar Association and the rest, they will join the fight. Because this is what we saw in 1979, when groups like the Bar Association, the professional bodies relative to health groups, I've forgotten the technical name, they stood up for these things. I urge them to stand up and let us fight corruption.
Thank you, Doc. Ben, your paper.
And the update, as far as I recall, if memory serves, it's actually north of $5 billion now per the last bit that I heard, I think from under Kenoforieta or something of the sort, that we lose. And some estimates even project that we lose more than $6 billion annually to corruption. So if we're able to nip it...
And Ben, can you imagine this amount of money, 6 billion? We are looking at 3 billion from IMF. So 6 billion, we are good to go. Then if you look at Auditor General report, it's replete with financial waste. Yeah. Can't you fix this? We don't need God to come down to help us. We can do it. And I trust that we can do that.
Let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper now. President seeks end to Bawku crisis, says area's peace top priority. Jiba seeks injunction against illegal fee demands. Mahama reaffirms commitment to sustainable growth. President faces selection headache as piles of CVs flood his office. Yesterday, I was talking about the story where he had been mentioning that he had thousands of CVs for only 60 ministerial positions. Security chiefs pledge loyalty to President Mahama. On the back page, GCB Bank funds UG Hospital Pediatric Unit construction and Operation Keep the Lights On. ECG targets 200 million Ghana cedis in exercise. Let me start from there because power issues impact all of us. The Electricity Company of Ghana will from today embark on a massive revenue mobilization exercise to retrieve money owed by customers in its operational areas. The exercise, dubbed Operation Keep the Lights On, would focus on all categories of customers indebted to the company. The Director of Communications of the ECG, William Boateng, who confirmed this to the Daily Graphic, said the target for the 2-week exercise was to raise 200 million Ghana cedis. After the 2 weeks, he said the company would access the exercise. Okay, so I think this should have been assess, not access. Would assess the exercise and see what it had done so far and then plan ahead again. And of course, the ECG issue has come to the fore in respect of the cash waterfall mechanism situation, and then in respect of the energy sector debt, which currently stands at $3 billion. You do the calculation in cedis, you are looking at just about 45 billion Ghana cedis. So it's a situation on our hands. I'm sure you listened to John Abdullahi Jinapo while his vetting was ongoing, and some of the comments he passed about resolving these matters once and for all. And then Indigenous Bank, GCB Bank PLC, has cut the sort for the construction of a pediatric unit for the University of Ghana Hospital. The facility is expected to enhance the hospital's capacity to deliver quality healthcare to children and their families. The project, to be fully financed by GCB Bank PLC, is expected to be completed in 14 months and will provide a facility with the best international standards. And I'm really happy about some of what is happening in the University of Ghana as far as health is concerned. Any quick reaction to these stories before I go to the one?
I will start with the Bawku story.
Okay, so I've not delved into the Bawku story yet. Do you want me to then just read a little bit so that
yes, a little will do as good.
All right. So President John Mahama has initiated moves to end the cycle of violence in Bawku, pledging to broker lasting peace between the feuding Mampusi and Kusasi communities, whose members have been embroiled in a protracted dispute over land ownership and chieftaincy rights. I'm sure we are fully aware of the details, so I'll not belabor the point, only to stress that in Wale Wale there have been some additional incidents, some attacks, and all of that. Now you can go ahead with the 3 stories.
I like the move by the president straight away, hitting the ground running. And I also want to pay tribute to the former president, the effort he also put in there, to the extent that the last election you saw that even though we're worried that we're going to have incident, but it was peaceful. Kudos to the former president and its government. But let's look at what John is doing now. Brilliant one. And that is how we have to do it. And he has to continue and make sure that get a feuding party together, listen to them, let us have a third party neutral, if possible, to be able to look at the issues and deal with it for us. Because this is one group of people. We are the same group of people. So whenever there's a problem like that, it affects development, roof of everything. Remember, there was a point in time that the court had to shut down simply because of insecurity and all that. We don't want that. So this approach is very good. I listened to Asamoah Boateng. He also made a very important statement that don't appoint anybody from the feuding factions. That is a very wise counsel. And I think that the president will have to incorporate that into his scheme of things and then get these problems solved. The issue of ECG. ECG is supposed to be the golden hen that will lay the golden egg for all of us. I don't know why we are in this sorry state. Revenue collection and all that. You saw the former MD, the effort he put in getting resources. It was very, very interesting. And then events took a different turn. And then he left office in a certain circumstance that we are yet to understand fully the issues. But we can take it from there and then have leaders who will make sure that revenue collection in that regard can be done effectively. I speak to lawyers and they say that there are lawyers who are very good in revenue collection. They will collect it for you. I can assure you. If there's a need to get them on board and let us get our monies back. And then any other problems associated with ECG, like what, theft and all those things and all that. We saw the former manager. He was also going to that area, those who were stealing power illegally and all those things. Get all the basics right, and I'm sure ECG should be fine. It's a very important access to us, and we need to support every effort at making it better. Eugene Hospital and Pediatric Unit. I don't know whether we still, the Children's Hospital is still functioning effectively in town. I haven't been to town for a very long time. I always hide in my
You mean, is it the Princess Marie Louis Hospital? Is that the one?
I think so.
In Accra?
In Accra, around Arena. I haven't gone there for a very long time.
Let me just say that from what I know, they are facing great challenges. Let me just leave it at that. Some of the stories we've been told, and by medical doctors, it's not a good deal. And this is practically the sole children's hospital focused on children in at least the region. I don't know whether in the entirety of the country, and the state is not exactly the best.
I'm saying this because when I was a little boy, my mother was telling me, this is the hospital that I was bringing you to for health checks and all those things and all that. So you expect that by now we have stepped up our game and developed the place to the highest. You will not understand this thing until you are caught in a certain situation like this. My first son that I lost, and then we had to go to hospital. And then there was a test we had to do. They said we had to go to Nigeria. Can you imagine this? Imagine it happened to a cocoa seller, a watch seller, my mother and all that. Where are you going to get resources to do this? So if UG has seen all that and then want to start up a program like this, I am all for it. Yeah, because we need more of such hospitals so that people would not regret being members of this society. Sometimes I watch television and you see a lot of cases, people on TV screens begging, asking for funds that my child is suffering this illness or another, and I need resources, and people have to come to their rescue. This should be the work of the state, and we must find a clever way by which we can do that. So Eugene has started this. I think I support Eugene. Let us also support Eugene to make it a reality.
All right. Just a few quick stories, and then I'll cap it off. There's this editorial, Oral Must Work, Not Injure Reputations. You can grab details of that on page 7 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. There's also Arrogance of Power, Nemesis of Breaking the Eight. That's another opinion piece in there. Let me go to pages 16 and 17. Asantehene warns against casual invocation of Asanteman Great Oath. District Whistleblowers Agency in the offing. Minister Designate for Justice hints at vetting. And he says the government intends to set up a whistleblower agencies across all districts in the country to help fight corruption. On the international front, which is where I'm ending, homegrown malaria in the U.S. implications. Then Gaza ceasefire deal in final stages. That's according to Qatar. And I found these stories interesting. Zimbabwe's ZANU-PF wants to extend president's term by 2 years. I don't know what it is sometimes with some African leaders and wanting to be at the helm. We've had leaders there for 3 decades and the rest go to Equatorial Guinea, go to Cameroon, go to some of these countries. And you ask yourself, after all these terms, what do they have to show? And are they the only people who can do something for their countries? And finally, rescuers pull 6 more bodies from South Africa mine. I've read stories where supposedly some of them have had to feed on, is it rats, cockroaches, and even human flesh just to stay alive. This is crazy. But anyway, there's a famous law case that talks about such cannibalism in the past, but let me not bore you with that. Any quick reflections on this before we move into other
I will start with ORA. ORA is a good body. I have supported it and I'll continue to support it. But I am also alive to the fact that people's reputation need to be safeguarded at all times. So if your duty is to collect data, collect it and hand it to appropriate authority without you coming out to mentioning names and all that, because the people will not have opportunity to, respond to you if something goes untoward. So I believe that collect the data, give it to appropriate body on the quiet, and that I believe they have to do that. Asante cautions people who are using the traditional oath. They want to, invoke it and all that. I am a student of tradition, and I come from a royal family, so I am very alive to the things of this nature. These days, you listen to social media, and people are invoking the oath of, certain deities, certain traditional areas, and all that. And I ask myself, do you know the implications of these things? No. Please let us not go there, because in traditional society, it's one of the taboos. You don't cross that line. Before you invoke any of such things, you need permission from the palace and all that. If they call you to order, you'll be so sorry. So please, people who are not aware of these things, stay away from oath and then, those incantations and all those. Please stay away. Then the issue of whistleblower bodies being established in all the regions. It's a good thing. I support that call because we want to deal with corruption. But I want the government to know that it is not enough to set up all these bodies in all the region, but they should get the political courage to prosecute people, including their own, when they cross the line. Do they have the courage? Only time will tell us whether they are capable or not. And then the last one is the ZANU-PF issue that they want to extend their mandate. We call it in political science third-term agenda. In recent time, we have even a fourth-term agenda. It's becoming an ugly spectacle within international political arena, where people want to elongate their stay and all that, bypassing the constitution and doing. Sometimes they even use the constitution and then create another tenure for themselves. Please let us respect constitution, and that when your time is up, bow out peacefully. That is the way to go. That's the spirit behind every democratic enterprise. Any other thing is nothing but an aberration.
Thank you so much, Doc. Let's look at the Ghanaian publisher now. Armed men demolish Intertech property at Chado. LGBTQI bill is dead, says Mahama. I'm not sure if that's exactly what he said. I read that article this morning. I think he said it died with the 8th Parliament and we should reinitiate the process. But let me get into the story. It's on page 3 of the Ghanaian publisher. President John Dramani Mahama said that the anti-LGBTQ plus bill cannot be a private member's bill if his government is to consider signing it into law. And the bill died, quote, the bill died with the 8th Parliament. But yes, I think we need to have a conversation on that. But I think it should not be a private member's bill, but a government-sponsored one. We already know, this is the Catholic Bishops' Conference saying they already know the position of the president on the issue, but they are also hopeful that he'll sign it into law, to which he responds that, I don't know what the promoters of the bill intend to do, but I do think that we should have a conversation on it again, so that all of us, if we decide to move forward with that bill, move it forward with a consensus, and probably it shouldn't be a private member's bill. And
if I may just add, some people seem not to understand when the term death is used, but at the end of the life, in fact, we use the life of a parliament. So the life of the 8th Parliament ended on the 6th day of January, right? And everything that came with it died with that parliament. Everything that hadn't been concluded, including bills like the LGBTQ bill. But I see, for example, if you look at some of those sending messages, some people don't understand, let me put it mildly, that he uses the word death. But it is dead. It doesn't mean he's saying that he will not pursue it, but he's saying not a private member's bill, but his government will actually facilitate that. Yeah.
And yesterday, I think this was on this platform. Don't introduce new taxes through the back door. Dr. Gideon Bawku warns government. But, Doc, just these stories, we have very little time left to go. Armed men demolish Intertech property at Chado is also one you can reflect on.
Yeah. The issue of armed robbery, the armed robbery story we're talking about, is unfortunate. But I know that the police and security agents, they have really fought this battle. You recall that there was a certain period of time that we had a large incidence of armed robbery. Today, we are free, virtually free. I'll urge the police to continue the good work they are doing by also making sure that they take the conversation to another level. And then the state must also support them with the needed resources. They needed to be able to work effectively. Issue of LGBTQ plus. I will leave it with the president. He has made a statement on that, and we want to see how he carried that statement to its logical conclusion. I wish the president the best of luck in all that he's doing, including this bill that he's looking at, so that at the end of the day, his word will be taken for it in a more serious manner.
Okay, thank you. And just headlines on the other papers. The Accra Times has balanced your duties with demands of constituents. Clerk to MPs. Speaker Bagbin charges new MPs to build good image for themselves. Akufo-Addo, 2 others to answer for National Cathedral as Mahama probes misuse of public funds. And Mahama's budget will protect the vulnerable, Attoforsen assures. That's for the Accra Times. And that will be a wrap of the papers I have. The Daily Analyst, shake-up in security setup imminent. Mahama drops hints at Bawku. I think we delved into that story. Armed thugs demolish property at Chado. And of course, Notongu gets 40 applicants. Applicants for what? Right, that's just the headlines I have. Ben?
All right, wrapping with my headlines, the new finder, I'll just pick a few. Address challenges impeding after Guta president urges AU leaders. Government will work with Bank of Ghana to stabilize Ghana's forex regime. That's according to Dr. Kazil Attoforsen. Has President Mahama made U-turn on anti-LGBTQ law? That's the News Center newspaper. And it's obvious if you are reading the right thing, he hasn't. And don't replace E-Levy, other taxes with new taxes and levies. Dr. Bawku says so. I have a few birthdays. Belated happy birthday to Benjamin Ajay of Christ the King. You have a wonderful voice. And yesterday was your birthday. You didn't tell me, bro. Anyway, happy birthday to you. Belated happy birthday to you. God bless and keep you and keep uplifting you for the good work you do for church and for country. And also to Merene Botio Tamaklo, if I don't do this, Ladai. Merene Botio Tamaklo, you watch us all the time, all the way from, I'll not mention, but thank you for doing the watching. Today is your birthday and we celebrate you. Thank you for everything and the prayers from afar. Merene Botio Tamaklo, happy birthday to you. And that's how we cap it off, Sweetie Abochi.
I thought we'd give Doc a minute to give us a wrap of his thoughts.
Okay.
Doc, are you still with us? Oh, he's gone. Okay, great. Yeah, but that's how we are capping off news reviews segments this morning on the AM show. Thank you. Benjamin, tomorrow you are my in-house guest and I'll grow you. But stay with us because sports is coming up next on the AM show. We're back in a bit.